Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Next Generation eDiscovery Collection from Custodian to Review. With us today, we have Barry O'Melia, Chad Jones, and John Patsakis. Barry O'Melia is a Senior Product Manager at Relativity and leads the Relativity product efforts on the left-hand side of the EDRM. Barry brings over 20 years' experience in the fields of software development, technology integration, and legal information services. He's been called on by several AM Law 100 law firms and Fortune 100 companies to consult in the areas of electronic document scope negotiation, review efficiency, and 30b-6 witness support. Barry holds a BS in Engineering Technology from Kansas State University and an MS in Engineering from Tufts University. Chad Jones is the Director of the Litigation Support Analyst Team, or LSA, at D4. As Director, Chad leads D4's hosted application strategy, sharing his experience in workflow design and provides expert guidance on best practices to both internal and external clients. With over a decade of eDiscovery project management experience, Chad has managed hundreds of hard copy and ESI projects. Working with some of the largest corporations and law firms in the country, he has represented a range of industries, including oil and gas, pharmaceutical, and the biomedical field. Chad is a Relativity certified expert, Relativity analytics specialist, a Relativity certified administrator, and a Relativity review specialist. He holds a BA from Michigan State University and follow-on graduate studies at Utah State University. John Patsakis is the founder and executive chairman of X1 Discovery. John has an extensive background and expertise in eDiscovery and corporate compliance. Prior to joining X1, John spent nearly a decade at Guidance Software, where he held senior management positions, including vice chairman, chief legal officer, and president and CEO. Prior to joining Guidance, John spent 8 years practicing law in the fields of commercial litigation and business transactions. Over to you, John.
Thank you, Todd, and good morning or good afternoon to all of our attendees. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Also wanted to thank our co-presenters and speakers, Barry O'Melia of Relativity and Chad Jones of D4. Great presentation today. Really looking forward to a great discussion as well as some interactive QA with the audience. So in terms of the agenda, we're going to start by setting the stage with Barry and discussing Relativity 1, and it was a great solution and all the benefits there. We'll also talk about the second half of the equation, X1, briefly, and really set the foundation, because we want to then explain really the benefits of this exciting X1 R1 integration with both Relativity on-prem as well as Relativity 1. We're also really excited to have Chad Jones from D4, want to get his perspective as a service provider on the front lines on the challenges he's seen from the field and how this integration is going to, I think, really advance the ball and create a lot of efficiencies for eDiscovery workflows. We're going to do a live demo showing this integration, do a live collection. You'll see the import directly into Relativity 1, and also really encourage you to ask questions using the chat feature. We've already had a couple of good questions submitted, and looking forward to, we'll leave some time at the end for interactive Q&A. So with that, I want to turn it over to Barry to talk about Relativity 1.
Great, thanks, John. And again, Relativity 1 is our complete eDiscovery solution in the cloud. And this Azure-based solution is operated and managed by Relativity for you. And what that gives you is immediate access to our latest upgrades and innovations. Every month, you'll get the newest releases. And on top of that, we also give you an early release access. So you could test, train before each release. And this is available globally. Besides the US, Canada, UK, and Hong Kong, this year we're also releasing in Brazil, Germany, and Australia. And with the Relativity 1 cloud solution, you can extend that to your other cloud solutions. You have the ability with Relativity 1 to connect to any of your other cloud solutions to integrate those data sources. And we power it by our team of experts. And so the folks who are building Relativity are also the people behind Relativity 1. And as I mentioned earlier, this is built on the Azure cloud, so we're taking advantage of the scalability for your cases. You're not having to worry or plan or necessarily budget for infrastructure. That's all taken care of. We can scale on Relativity 1. And we've invested in a dedicated security team. We lead Relativity One with security. And besides the security that Azure provides and their numerous certifications, we've also gone through ISO 27001 and SOC 2 certification and have those as well. And so just wanted to give you a brief introduction on Relativity One, if you weren't familiar with that. And as John mentioned, this is also available on our on-prem solutions as well, the integration he's going to show you. So thanks, John.
Thank you, Barry. And it's great insight. And what you'll see later today, later in this presentation at the bottom of the hour, is you'll see Relativity One actually in action, and we're using actually D4's install of Relativity One. So that's really important to see those efficiencies where the data goes from the collection process using the import API straight into Relativity One. So I'm actually really excited to see that. So what we heard from Barry was really an outline of this great solution addressing the right-hand side of the EDRM, with starting with processing and review with Relativity. The other half of the equation is identification, early case assessment, and of course collection. And so today we're going to highlight briefly, as to kind of set a foundation, all set the table, our X1 data insight collection solution, which again now integrates with Relativity One. So this integration is important because it really creates a lot of efficiencies in the eDiscovery process, accelerating speed of review and enabling more intelligent decision making. So to understand this fully, so I want to really briefly again go over this first half of the EDRM solution. X1 Insight Collection, really I think changes the game in eDiscovery by searching and collecting emails and documents, up to even thousands of endpoints and other network sources with really blazingly fast speed. We can collect across hundreds of endpoints and get search results in minutes. And the collection is extremely fast as well and very streamlined. So this empowers legal and consulting teams to not only do a very lightning fast collection, but actually iterate their search parameters. This iteration can take place in real time, test out keywords and detailed Boolean keywords searches. This really gives you, I think, an important and really truly pre-collection early case assessment capability. And this capability enables organizations to also very effectively address numerous information governance use cases, in addition to eDiscovery, such as GDPR compliance, identifying and removing PII, and conducting IP data audits. So the key question is, what problems are we solving here? The X1 and Relativity integration addresses several pain points that we see in the existing eDiscovery process. For one, there's currently really an inability to quickly search across all unstructured data, really meaning in the enterprise. Meaning eDiscovery teams have to spend often weeks or even months to collect data as required, when they use other processes or other cumbersome tools for eDiscovery collection. Additionally, using traditional ESI processing methods that involve appliances that are not integrated with collection will significantly increase costs and time delays. And with this inefficient process, there's simply no way for attorneys and legal professionals to gain immediate visibility into the data. So this often leaves them, waiting weeks before they have a chance to assess that data post-collection. But so Chad from D4, if you can tell us what you're seeing in the field in terms of these challenges from your perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. What we'll see is this solution here really solves a couple of key issues in that, in a traditional process, there's 5 or more handoffs at minimum, where there's a collection and then a shipping and an intake and then processing and then loading and review. So you're doing all of those handoffs and all those opportunities for delay or, particular issues may arise, whether it's, somebody drops the baton somewhere. It really introduces a lot of consternation. But what this really does then is it eliminates many of those steps, and you just go directly from collection to review. And prior to going into the collection, as you mentioned, you'll have those ECA opportunities and those opportunities to analyze the data and just selectively choose those files that are relevant to the matter and push those into review. Really gives you a great opportunity to do things like refresh collection, where you have to go backward and collect data again, and rather than introducing now what would be 10 or more handoffs, you've only really eliminating that. I think it's a great way to streamline the process.
Yeah, I think your point about handoffs, I think, is important, because it really does slow down the process. It requires a lot of manual efforts, a lot of project management, and the more that we can automate that, I think, what you'll see in the demo, you'll see a lot of these handoffs just being, automated and done, through the APIs provided now by Relativity. But yeah, great point. So in terms of really then summarizing all of this, in terms of, I think, the core benefits, what we're seeing is a dramatic increase in speed of review. So flowing directly from the Custodian into Relativity on-premise or into the cloud-based Relativity One platform. This integration significantly reduces, or I think even completely eliminates in many cases, inefficient ESI processing. So X1 will surge, call, and dedupe data at the point of collection. And so because of the integration with the Relativity Ingestion API, you don't need to generate load files. So, a lot of this processing really occurs in the background. And organizations will be given real-time early case assessment within minutes of the initial search, instead of taking days and weeks for this to take place. So all of this is achieved with a truly repeatable end-to-end process for enterprises. And I think what is particularly important and compelling is that the combination of X1 and Relativity provides a full and complete eDiscovery platform. So I think in summation, in terms of the big picture, organizations are going to save a lot of time with this integration, a lot of money, and be able to make faster and better decisions. When you accelerate the speed to review and eliminate over-collection, you're going to have a much better early insight into your data, increase efficiencies at really many levels, many steps. But again, Chad, from your perspective, as a service provider out there in the field, tell me what also you see in terms of some of these benefits.
Well, I think, talking about the handoffs, and then we were also, the ability to reduce or eliminate the processing, and then the end-to-end process. You could think about a traditional model now with a lot of project management, and there's the real problem of logging and reporting and making sure that, everything that was collected, received, the custodians are logged, then the processing sources are logged, and then you have this waterfall reporting. And so it takes a lot of energy and effort on the service provider side to make sure that all of that information is tracked from system to system to system, and making sure that we can then share that to our end clients, and that everything is documented. But in this system where you're really focusing primarily on collection, reviewing I wouldn't say review, but analyzing the data and then collecting it and pushing it into a review tool immediately, and a review tool with all the capabilities of Relativity, then you're really simplifying that whole process. And I think that's really the key benefit here, is you're making what is a very complicated, the EDR was created to define the process, and here we're really kind of cutting out a whole bunch of it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good points, and I think this is really enabled by I think the efficiencies of Relativity. They're providing these APIs, I think, enable us to compress these steps. Before we get into the demo, again, great input, Chad. Tell us a little bit about your practice at D4.
Yeah, D4 is an end-to-end service provider with a range of services, and we've been in the Relativity business for quite some time. We were an early adopter. We are Relativity's best in service orange level provider for a consecutive 9 years. We're a Relativity One certified partner. We provide Relativity services across the entire stack. But in addition to that, we do forensics and collections. as a core part of our business, advanced technology support, ECA, ESI processing, and paper discovery. So we really provide the end-to-end, as well as now as part of special counsel, manage review services and staffing services, and we're consulting as well. It's really a true end-to-end process here.
Great, Chad. Thank you for that. All right, so we're going to switch gears now, and we are going to go to a live demo. I want to introduce our CTO, Brent Botte, and he will walk us through, I think, a firsthand demonstration of the R1 integration.
Great. Thank you very much, John. So I wanted to briefly set the stage so everyone understands the technology and how it's working. Our application is installed on-prem at a client site. So the servers are on your domain. None of the data actually comes back to X1 at all. The only data that leaves our system would be going directly to Relativity 1. So as I talk about the workflow, I'll describe each portion of it and which components we're using. So when an investigator, examiner, eDiscovery consultant would log in to our system via web browser, they configure the search. They're able to do keyword statistics and configure the search and then send that out to each one of the users. So if we move forward in the progress, each one of the laptops on that screen represent a custodian, and they're assigned computer at the corporation. Our application's on there. One of the big differences, and you'll see with speed, is that the application during the rollout is configured to index. So it pre-indexes all of the data and it distributes that, and the indexes live on the laptops. We have all the checks and balances in place because we come from a productivity background at X1, so we do not interfere with the machine, and we'll actually stop our indexing and alert the system if we're running out of space or if there's any other problems. So by having that, when the examiner configures the job and sends it, each one of those machines checks in with the on-prem server, which really helps with identification of custodians versus machines because we track that because each one checks in every 30 seconds or so. Once they check in, going on to the next step of the workflow, they give a health status so the server knows where they're at. All their indexes are up to date, or if there's any problems, or if their drives are full, whatever reason we need so it can be managed. They download the instructions on what they're supposed to do. And those could be as simple as I want you to execute a search and give quick statistics, which we'll show in a second, all the way to collection or deletion or whatever the job may be. In this case, we're very much focused on insight and collection, so we're going to do collection jobs. And then the very last phase, once they collect the jobs, it goes back into the local servers, and then it's pushed directly to Relativity. Don't need to make load files. We're not transferring them. We're uploading it directly into their workspace. To do that, just to set it clear on the stage, we're using D4's live Relativity 1 workspace. So they've created an account. We've configured that in our system. The workspace that we're using for this demo, we have that ID, and we've configured that in our instructions. So when we send out the keywords, we already have that information just for the speed of the demo to move things along. So at this point, I'd love to move it on over to the presenter to the live demo, and we will show it. There we go. Fantastic. So one thing, I said it multiple times, this is live, so just want to be very clear about it. Many projects that we have, you can see some are pending or closed. We're going to go into the Einstein Galileo project and just jump right in. So once we go into that project, you can have multiple jobs that are working. So we've already got a couple collections that we've been working on. What we really want to do is we want to work on keyword statistics. The point of keyword statistics is to be able to very quickly query the machines for the targets, however many custodians you want to have in your target list. I want to quickly go query them, and I want to work on the keywords and get the integer results back. I want to know the volume of data that's returned and the size. So what we've done is we've already selected, for the speed of the demo, a few machines. We have our key terms in on the left-hand side, and we clicked Analyze. What it did is it queued up the jobs. The machines are checking in. They're downloading the job. They're executing it, and they're returning only the values that you see in the grid below. They're stored in a database. So if you're offline on an airplane, moving from meeting to meeting, once you come back online, it will complete. So you can save this and then come back, and as users come back online, you get a more complete picture. This is showing the users and the machines. We can switch it over to key terms. I came from an eDiscovery consulting background. One of the things we've always had to do is what are the heavy hitting terms and what are the light terms to help the legal teams negotiate the agreed upon search terms, or just on an exploration. So by switching over the terms, now we can see. Point of this is it's very quick because we're only getting the results back. We're not pulling any data at that time. So why don't we jump over and look at relativity and show that it's an empty relativity workspace at this point. So as that comes up, we've already configured all of our fields inside of it. We've also configured the views to be able to show the data. So we'll jump right over. For the speed of the demo, we moved over where we're going to create the job. And we have a few machines, so we're going to select those. We've already populated them. That's pulling from our database, so it's very quick to find machines. You can use lists by username or machine name. And then once we've got it, we fired it off. We have the search criteria in there. What it did is it has all the search terms. You can do metadata. You can do complex keyword searching. It's any integration of that. Lots of terms. We've done cases with well over 10,000 characters inside of the terms, no issues at all. And that pushes out with the Relativity Workspace ID, so we know where to upload it. So right now you can see it's running. It's silently running on each one of the nodes. The user has no idea what's going. Everything's stored encrypted on the drive. So the machines are searching, and during this point, they're collecting the data, they're packaging it, and you'll see it now. Some of them, 2 of them already came back. They're in a process, our load file service. We're not making load files. We're actually using that to push up to Relativity 1. But we've already collected the data, and it's going through, and right now it's deduping all of the data. It's also re-text extracting because we don't want to transfer the text extraction over the network on the corporation. It's too slow, and it's too hard on the user's machine. So that's all being done on the services installed on-site at the corporation. So now that that's occurring, you can see the very bottom one now, it's already uploaded to Relativity 1. So the data's up there. We'll wait for another 1 or 2 to go, and then we're going to switch back to Relativity 1, and then we'll be able to see that the data is starting to flow in, and if we keep refreshing, you'll see more and more data of that collection coming in.
And Brent, just to kind of reiterate what we've seen so far, at first we searched across 5 different custodians to get the keyword result from our search. That came back in a couple of seconds, it looked like. So over the network, within email containers, the results from a detailed Boolean keyword came back in a couple minutes. Then we ran. Based on that, we ran it to do the actual collection on those keywords, and it looks like the collection from the 5 custodians is taking about 2 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a key point. We are searching inside of email containers. We're searching live email when we're doing this, so you're not collecting the big PSTs. You're only collecting the messages. So yeah, to get the results, it was within seconds. So you could change those terms and reinitiate that search during keyword statistics and get the results within seconds with the new terms to adjust them very quickly on the fly. And then that collection did occur, pulled everything up, and now we're looking at a live document in Relativity within minutes.
All right, very good. It just, I mean, from your perspective, to collect from 5 custodians and to process that data using kind of the traditional methods, I mean, that could take sometimes a week. So what we saw, I mean, between people getting on planes, traveling, putting into appliances, so what we saw in 2 minutes can, you know, in other processes take several days.
And John, if you remember when we were putting this presentation together, I said we have to do this live, this demo, because it's almost unbelievable. It's a really powerful story, and it really didn't matter whether we were using 5 endpoints or 50 endpoints. The speed to review was pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that note, Barry. All right, so all right, we got some good questions here. First one, this will be for Barry, Amelia, at Relativity. This question is, quote, is this an interface or integration directly with Relativity tables?
Okay, so I'm going to assume that the table reference means the database, and so yes, this is a direct integration with Relativity. with the API. So as you saw, there was no load files, there was no handoff. It's a direct integration to Relativity.
Okay, great. And then there's a question on advanced Boolean searching. Maybe this will be for Brent. Is it possible to have two, quote, near searches, e.g., quote, Civil War, end quote, near /5 Lincoln, near /50, quote, White House, end quote?
Yes, we support all variations of that. In fact, our near, we can do order specific or not. It can be bidirectional. It can be either way.
And we can actually, Brent, establish this not just for searching on ECA, but actual collection parameters based upon that search string, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the exact same syntax and index on each local machine that we're doing. So what we're getting in the keyword statistics and what we can do for the search and collection is identical.
Okay, here's another question from Maureen. How does X1 handle docs without text or secure docs where content can be accessed for searching? Do you have any way to identify those docs?
Absolutely. Coming from that background, coming from an eDiscovery consultant, that's a requirement of every product. What we have is a indexing status field. It is set to OK for everything that we can properly text extract and we can index, so it's keyword searchable. Say you have a Word document that's encrypted, or use some file level encryption at your company, we mark that indexing status as encrypted. We'll also mark it for bad or no filters. There's a lot of statuses, so you can combine your keyword searching for everything that is searchable, and then you can OR that with a forced pass-through on any document that you cannot search. That way your full collection's coming back. We also have it in the audit logs. I came from federal law enforcement doing forensics. The audit logs are lock solid because I really don't like testifying, so I think the product should stand on its own. Absolutely can do all those variations.
All right, we have a question from someone from actually from Relativity. That's for Chad. It's for Chad Jones at D4. What sparked your interest in X1's integration?
That's an interesting question. We're always looking to push forward new technology and embrace new technologies, looking at ways that we can enhance our customers' experience with the eDiscovery process and make sure that whatever new products and integrations are out there, as well as being an R1 or Relativity 1 certified partner, having these integrations will help to enhance the experience of our Relativity 1 clients and users. So we can always, that is what really prompted it, was just to make sure that we had cutting edge technology offering.
Okay, great. Question from Vincent. How long does it take to set X1 up on the corporate side?
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. We've, our normal installs we're doing over the wire with go-to meetings, and they're happening within 2 hours on corporations. There's a caveat to that, which is we need the right security teams to make sure that the protocols, we can talk to each other, and if we're dropping certificates in. So there's a little prep work to make sure that's squared away up front. But once the firewalls and everything's open, because obviously the desktops have to talk to our servers, so we need to have that communication in place and globally routing. And then, but outside of that, it's pretty smooth. We use standard Microsoft protocols. We use WCF, so it's very accepted by security teams, and that was a very purposeful design by X1 to do that.
Okay, great. Question. A lot of great questions here. I'm going to try to answer them all. From William. Is there a development time / cost to integrate the two products, meaning X1 and Relativity?
From a development standpoint, because I'm on that side of the house, the actual integration portion of it, since we wrote the code, we need the Relativity username and password during the installation of one of our services, so we know how to talk to the Relativity Rel1 instance for that corporation, and we need the workspace ID. We also need a primary key ID, so that we need 2 ID fields that you get when you create a new workspace for the project that you're working on, and then you put that in the configuration. So when we get it, we already have the credentials, we know which workspace to send it to, we know the primary key, and we can instantly upload the data. So getting that, once you have the creds, getting the workspace ID takes about 10 seconds. So it's very, very quick, and it does not include talking to X1 at all. Just do it all on your own.
Yeah, so there's really Yeah, please.
I would just also add, from a security standpoint, those are not system administrator credentials. And so that helps alleviate some of those concerns about sharing data with X1 services from a relativity perspective?
I think the point to the questioner had here, there's no systems integration, from what I'm hearing from your answer, that's required between X1 and Relativity 1. It's all ready to go out of the box, just a matter of plugging in the credentials and look and path.
Absolutely, and the workspace does need to be prepped. We have a Relativity 1 application that you just run inside of there as a Relativity 1 admin that preps the fields and the views, so we have all the data that we send up, which is quite a bit of metadata for every item, has the correct home. But that's with Relativity's work that they've done. We've created that application with them. It's very, very easy and smooth to do. Takes seconds actually to install that.
Okay. There's a question about data extraction. One note is that when it's uploaded to Relativity from X1, is it extracting the data, or is it just pointing to a location back in X1 distributed data insight collection?
No, all the metadata and actual file and extracted text is all sent to Relativity 1, so it is 100% in their organization. You do not need the tie between that. It's up in the Azure platform with Relativity 1, so it is a full transfer of the data.
Okay. All right. I think this has been great. We've great questions, but again, want to thank all of our attendees, and again, thanking our speakers, Barry Amelia from Relativity and Chad Jones from D4. Also, again, thanking D4 for allowing us to use their Relativity 1 install for this, or up in Azure for this demonstration. Thank you very much, and take care, everyone.